Girl selling lemonade to pay for chemo gets a shocking surprise from Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor and director, is known for his tough guy persona and his portrayal of characters who exude grit, wisdom, and resilience. At 94 years old, Clint has become an icon of Hollywood, with a career that spans decades and is filled with memorable roles in Western films and action thrillers. But despite the fame and accolades, Clint remains a man of few words, preferring to let his actions speak for him. With his signature squint, weathered face, and commanding presence, Clint has always embodied strength and determination. But what many don't know is that behind that tough exterior, Clint is also a man of immense compassion and humility. As one of the most respected figures in the film industry, Clint Eastwood has lived a life that has shaped his character. Having faced many challenges in his personal life, Clint understands the importance of perseverance and self-reliance. But he also knows that sometimes it's the smallest gestures of kindness that can change someone's life forever. On this particular day, Clint found himself walking through the streets of Monterey, California, where he had a home and spent much of his downtime away from the Hollywood hustle. The sun was low in the sky, casting a soft, warm glow across the street as Clint walked with his hands in his pockets, lost in thought. He didn't expect much from the afternoon, just a quiet stroll through town to clear his mind. But as he passed a small street corner, he saw something that immediately caught his attention. There, on the sidewalk, stood a young girl with a small wooden lemonade stand. She couldn't have been more than 10 or 11 years old, with bright eyes and a sweet smile. Her clothes were simple, a faded t-shirt and jeans, but she wore a determined expression as she handed out cups of lemonade to passers-by. The sign on the stand read, "Lemonade for Chemo. All proceeds go to help pay for my treatments." Clint stopped in his tracks, feeling a sudden pull in his chest. The sign, written in handwritten, colorful letters, spoke volumes. It wasn't just lemonade she was selling, it was her hope, her fight, and her courage all wrapped up in one simple gesture. The girl, Emma, had been diagnosed with cancer months ago. After a tough few rounds of chemotherapy, her family struggled to keep up with the overwhelming medical bills. Determined to fight, Emma decided to take matters into her own hands. She set up her lemonade stand every day after school, hoping to raise enough money to help pay for her treatments and ease the financial burden on her parents. As Clint watched her, he could see the strength in her eyes, a strength that mirrored the very qualities he had portrayed in his movies. Emma didn't let her illness define her. She refused to let it steal her hope or her spirit. Clint walked over to the stand, catching Emma's attention. She looked up at him, her eyes widening slightly. He could see the flicker of recognition. Clint Eastwood, after all, was a name that many people knew. But what caught Clint off guard was how quiet and humble Emma seemed, despite the situation. She wasn't trying to make a big deal out of her fight. She was simply doing what she could to make a difference in her own way. "Lemonade for chemo, huh?" Clint said with his signature gravelly voice. He smiled at her, trying to offer some warmth. Emma nodded, her eyes flicking to the lemonade jar and then back to him. "Yeah. I'm trying to raise enough money to help my parents pay for my treatments. It's been really hard for them, and I just want to help." Clint smiled again, but this time there was a hint of pride in his expression. He was impressed by this young girl's determination, and he couldn't help but admire her strength. "You've got a lot of heart, kid," Clint said, reaching into his pocket. "How much is the lemonade?" Emma's eyes brightened, and she quickly responded, "Just $1 for a cup." Clint reached into his wallet, pulling out a thick wad of cash. He placed it in her hands, far exceeding the $1 she asked for. "Here." "Take it all," Clint said, smiling at her. "You've earned it." Emma's face lit up, her hands trembling as she counted the money in disbelief. "Wait, this is too much." "I only asked for $1, Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper, clearly shocked by his generosity. Clint shook his head, his smile never fading. "You're not just selling lemonade, kid. You're selling hope. And that's worth more than any dollar." Emma's eyes filled with tears as she realized the enormity of the gesture. "Thank you so much, Mr. Eastwood. This means the world to me." Clint looked at her and gave her a gentle pat on the shoulder. "You've got this, kid. Keep fighting, and don't let anything hold you back. You've already shown more strength than most people ever will." As Clint walked away, he couldn't help but think about how much he had learned in that brief moment with Emma. She had taught him something he had long forgotten, the true power of resilience, the strength that comes from within when one chooses to fight, no matter the odds. Emma wasn't just trying to raise money for her treatment. She was fighting for her future and giving others a reason to believe in hope again. Clint walked off, his heart filled with a renewed sense of purpose. He had done a small act of kindness, but in return, Emma had given him something priceless, a reminder of why he did what he did. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't about fame, money, or success. It was about impacting lives in ways that truly mattered. The days following Clint Eastwood's generous donation were filled with unexpected change for Emma. The moment she realized that Clint, a man she had only seen on TV and in movies, had chosen to stop at her lemonade stand, speak to her with genuine care, and hand her a wad of cash far beyond what she had hoped for, she felt a wave of disbelief wash over her. At first, she thought it was just another random act of kindness, but as the days went by, she began to see the ripple effects of his gesture. The lemonade stand, which had once seemed like a small, isolated attempt to help pay for her medical bills, was suddenly drawing attention from the community, and her story was spreading like wildfire. When she went home that night, her parents were in tears, not just because of the money, but because of the hope that had come with it. They had always been supportive of Emma's desire to help, but there was a sense of hopelessness that weighed heavily on them as they struggled to keep up with their medical bills. Emma's diagnosis had been a tough blow, and the costs associated with her treatments had taken a toll on the family. But now, there was a glimmer of hope, a light at the end of the tunnel. The next morning, as Emma was preparing her stand for another day of selling lemonade, the phone rang. Her mom answered it, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke. Emma could hear the conversation from the other room, but she couldn't make out the words. She tried to continue making lemonade, but the excitement in her chest was too much to bear. When her mom entered the room, her face was flushed, and there was a shocked smile on her lips. "Emma, you won't believe this," her mom said, holding the phone in her hand. "That was Clint Eastwood's assistant. He wants to meet you." Emma's heart stopped. "What?" she said, her voice barely a whisper. Her mom nodded, looking stunned herself. "Yes, he's impressed by what you're doing. He said he wants to take you and your family out for lunch, to talk more about your lemonade stand and how he can help." Emma's knees felt weak. She had never imagined this kind of opportunity. Clint Eastwood, the man who had become a symbol of strength and perseverance, wanted to meet her, not just because of his past acting roles, but because he had seen something in her that made him believe in her fight. The following week, Emma and her parents found themselves walking into a small, private restaurant in Monterey, a town they loved but never imagined they would be meeting someone like Clint Eastwood in. As they entered the dimly lit restaurant, the hostess greeted them and led them to a secluded booth in the back. There, sitting alone, was Clint. He stood up as they approached, offering a warm smile that immediately put them at ease. "Please sit down," he said, gesturing toward the booth. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Emma. Emma, still overwhelmed, smiled shyly. She had spent so much of her life fighting cancer and had done everything she could to support her parents, but never in her wildest dreams had she thought that the legendary actor would sit across from her, offering not just his financial help, but his support and belief in her journey. "Thank you for doing this," Emma's mom said, her voice full of gratitude. "You've already done so much for us, and we can't express how much this means." Clint smiled, his eyes softening. "You don't need to thank me. You're doing something incredible here, Emma. The world needs more people like you who choose to fight back and help others. I'm just doing what I can to support that." As they sat down and started talking, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Emma shared her story, her diagnosis, her fight, and how she had decided to take action by opening her lemonade stand to raise money for her chemotherapy. Clint listened intently, never once interrupting her, giving her the space to tell her story. "You've got guts, kid," Clint said with a grin after she finished. "I like that. You're not waiting around for someone to save you. You're taking control of your life and showing everyone what it means to have heart." Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. Here was a man who had seen and done it all, and yet he was genuinely impressed by her effort. Clint wasn't just offering her money. He was offering his belief in her strength, a belief that would fuel her during the toughest days ahead. Over lunch, Clint shared more of his own journey with Emma and her parents. He talked about how he had always faced challenges in his life, both professionally and personally. But through it all, he had never let those challenges define him. He talked about resilience, perseverance, and the importance of doing what you love, no matter the obstacles. "The real fight isn't just against the things you can see," Clint said. "It's the fight inside yourself, the fight to keep going when the world says you can't. I see that fight in you, Emma. Keep going. You've got a lot of people rooting for you." The lunch ended with more than just stories shared. It ended with a promise. Clint offered to help Emma in a way that went far beyond just his financial contribution. He wanted to ensure that Emma's journey wasn't just about surviving, it was about thriving. He arranged for Emma to meet with his personal doctor and healthcare professionals, ensuring she received the best possible care for her treatments. But even more than that, Clint offered her the chance to be part of something bigger. He invited Emma to attend an upcoming charity gala, where she could share her story and inspire others. For Emma, the gesture was nothing short of life-changing. What had started as a simple lemonade stand to pay for chemo had now turned into something that would have a lasting impact not just on her life, but on the lives of many others. As Clint left the restaurant, he turned to Emma one last time. "You're going to do great things, kid," he said, his voice full of conviction. "I know it. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." As Clint walked out the door, Emma looked at her parents, their eyes filled with tears of joy. They had been through so much, but now they had a renewed sense of hope. Emma had received more than just a helping hand from Clint Eastwood. She had received a life-changing gift. The weeks following the lunch with Clint Eastwood felt like a dream come true for Emma and her family. The generosity and kindness Clint had shown her were more than just acts of charity. They had ignited a spark of hope that had spread far beyond their family. What started as a humble lemonade stand had blossomed into something much bigger, touching the hearts of many along the way. The charity gala that Clint had invited Emma to attend was just the beginning. The support from the Hollywood community and local businesses continued to pour in. Emma's story became more than just about fighting cancer. It became a story of strength, resilience, and the power of kindness. At the gala, Emma spoke in front of a crowd of celebrities, philanthropists, and ordinary people alike. She shared her journey, the challenges she had faced, the determination that had driven her, and the incredible support she had received. Clint Eastwood stood at the side, watching with a proud smile as Emma spoke with poise and confidence, her voice steady, but her eyes filled with emotion. It was in that moment that Emma realized how much her own strength had grown. She wasn't just a girl selling lemonade anymore. She was a symbol of hope for anyone who had ever faced an impossible challenge. Clint's belief in her had given her the courage to see herself in a new light. The evening was a resounding success, and Emma's lemonade stand raised thousands of dollars, not only to cover her medical bills, but also to help other children battling cancer. Her story had sparked an outpouring of support and donations, from people who admired her courage and wanted to help in any way they could. Emma's fight had become a movement, one that would inspire others for years to come. As the months passed, Emma's health improved significantly. She continued her chemotherapy treatments, and with each new round, she felt stronger. Her fight wasn't over, but she had come to understand something important. She wasn't fighting alone. The support from people like Clint Eastwood, the community, and the growing network of donors had empowered her in ways she couldn't have imagined before. Clint's impact didn't stop with the gala. He continued to stay in touch with Emma and her family, checking in on her progress and offering advice when needed. His friendship and mentorship had become an integral part of Emma's journey, not just as a celebrity, but as a genuine person who cared deeply about helping others. As Emma's health improved, she made it her mission to give back. She used the funds raised from her lemonade stand to establish a charity foundation for children with cancer, offering scholarships, financial assistance, and emotional support for families battling the disease. Her foundation also worked to raise awareness and support research into childhood cancer, ensuring that her journey would inspire positive change for years to come. Emma was no longer just a young girl selling lemonade on the sidewalk. She was a leader, an advocate, and a voice for children who needed hope. Her courage had transformed into a movement that brought together people from all walks of life, working toward a common goal of helping others. 1 year later, Emma stood outside her lemonade stand, this time with a smile on her face and a sense of peace in her heart. The sign on the stand read, "Lemonade for Hope, all proceeds go to supporting children with cancer." She had expanded her operation, with booths set up in multiple locations, run by a network of volunteers who believed in her cause. As she looked around, she noticed a familiar figure approaching, Clint Eastwood. He had returned, just as he had promised. "How's the stand doing?" Clint asked, his smile as warm as ever. Emma beamed. "Better than ever. Thanks to you, we've been able to help so many families. I never imagined it would grow like this." Clint nodded, his eyes proud as he looked around at the crowd of people gathered, all buying lemonade, all contributing to the cause. "You did this, Emma. You started a spark, and now it's become a flame that's lighting the way for others." As they stood together, watching the people around them, Emma realized just how much she had changed in the past year. Her fight had transformed into a mission that had touched the hearts of people everywhere, showing them the power of compassion, kindness, and believing in something bigger than yourself. Emma's lemonade stand wasn't just about paying for chemo anymore. It was about giving children with cancer a fighting chance and reminding the world that hope was always worth fighting for. And it had all started with a single act of kindness, one that had been passed on, from Clint to Emma, and from Emma to the world. "You've got a bright future ahead, kid," Clint said, patting Emma on the back. "You're already doing great things. I'm proud of you." Emma smiled, watching the people around her, and for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was truly making a difference. She had started out just hoping to make enough money to pay for her treatments, but now she was changing lives. And as she looked around at the people she was helping, Emma knew that this was just the beginning. Her lemonade stand had grown into something that would never stop giving, and her story was a reminder that sometimes the smallest actions can spark the greatest changes in the world.